Nintendo's Legend of Zelda movie is slated to release in 2027, and so far we know it's going to be live action, directed by Wes Ball, the guy behind Maze Runner and Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and 2 cast members have been confirmed, Benjamin Ainsworth as Link and Bo Bragason as Princess Zelda. I actually like that the casting so far has leaned toward lesser known actors. With the Mario movie, it was fine to have an all-star cast since it was animated, but for Zelda, I think unknowns will work better to keep the audience immersed in its world rather than feeling like we're watching a celebrity in cosplay. However, I can also see an A-lister being cast as adult Link if they do a flash forward. Now obviously the main villain of this movie has to be Ganondorf. A Zelda movie without him would feel like a Mario movie without Bowser, as he completes the main trinity of the series. Since he hasn't been announced yet, fans are expecting him to be a big name casting reveal. Some top picks include Idris Elba, Jason Momoa, and God of War's Christopher Judge.
But what will you do now?
Beyond that, the appearance of other characters in the movie will probably depend on which game story they decide to adapt. The very first Zelda game on NES is pretty archaic and doesn't really represent what the series has evolved into. Skyward Sword is chronologically the start of the Zelda timeline, but since Ganondorf isn't even the villain of that game and it's not exactly the most beloved entry by fans, I doubt they'd risk the first movie on it. Some people think they'll adapt Breath of the Wild since it's the most modern take on Zelda, but because that story is more of a 2-part saga with its sequel game Tears of the Kingdom, it might be too much to tell in one self-contained film. If we go by how Miyamoto approached the Mario movie, this film probably won't be a direct adaptation of any single game. Instead, it'll likely blend elements from across the franchise. Still, a lot of people think Ocarina of Time will serve as the biggest influence. It's the most iconic and nostalgic Zelda game for many, still touted as one of, if not the best game in the series, and at its core is a simple enough story for one film. In terms of supporting characters, I could definitely see them including Link's village friends like Saria, Zelda's bodyguard Impa, and some of the different species of characters from the surrounding communities like Darunia and Princess Ruto to really play up that grand fantasy world. Director Wes Ball is also a VFX artist, so it's assumed that Nintendo chose him because he'd be able to blend the many diverse locations and characters from the Zelda world with live-action actors. Ocarina of Time alone spans so many different environments, so watching Link adventure through them and meeting all the different types of inhabitants along the way would be really cool to see if done right. I also bet that Link will have a companion to interact with along the adventure, so I'm curious if they'll rework it to be Zelda since she's becoming way more of an active character in the newer games, similar to how they reworked Peach for the Mario movie. I could definitely see Zelda's alter ego Sheik being a much bigger presence in the movie because of how she would occasionally appear in Ocarina of Time to help out Link along the way. Navi, the guide fairy that would talk to you constantly in Ocarina, could also fill that role, but she isn't exactly a fan favorite character. I haven't played enough Zelda to know that much about Tingle, but his design alone makes me want him to at least be part of the main crew, kind of like how Toad was to Mario. But I don't know, maybe I'm out of my depth and he's more of a comic relief character that's useful in small bursts. Most importantly though, people want this film to tell a good, emotional, and mature story. I don't know if it'll be Lord of the Rings level, but Zelda has a much bigger focus on lore and story than Mario, so it would make sense that they prioritize that a little more over Easter eggs and action. It would also delight fans if the filmmakers are able to incorporate some horror elements from the games. Majora's Mask is one of the most beloved Zelda games because of its uniquely dark take on the Zelda world, and although its story is probably enough for its own separate movie, it wouldn't hurt to show that creepy side in at least one of the dungeons in this first movie. Hell, even the Zelda-themed Smash Bros. Melee stage in the adventure mode used to creep me out as a kid. Lastly, like with all video game movies, fans are expecting a score that uses a lot of music from the games. Ocarina of Time especially has so many good themes, it'd be a shame not to use any of them. But yeah, thanks for watching, and let me know what other video game movies you'd like me to cover, and make sure to comment below what you'd like to see in the Zelda movie.